The shuttle's engines hummed in a rhythm that felt almost hypnotic as I stared out the viewport at the planet below. Lush emerald forests sprawled across mountains and valleys that shimmered under the light of two suns. The ship's AI, an unflappable construct named Kale, had already briefed me a dozen times on protocol. Human interactions with the Queen are highly restricted, it said, its voice devoid of emotion. Only one human may address her directly. That is you. I had spent years in the United Earth Council, solving diplomatic crises, but nothing had prepared me for this. To be the sole human permitted to speak to the ruler of an alien civilization, one that was rumored to be far older than our own species, was exhilarating and terrifying. Why me? I muttered, more to myself than to Kale. Your cognitive empathy metrics and non-confrontational problem-solving approach made you the ideal candidate, Kale replied. In other words, you won't panic when you inevitably face something incomprehensible. I wasn't sure if that was comforting. Chapter 1: Arrival. The moment the shuttle breached the atmosphere, the world below revealed itself in startling detail. Towering spires of crystalline structures rose from the forest canopy, glowing faintly with an inner light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Rivers of silver snaked through the landscape, reflecting the suns in ways that seemed unnatural, almost magical. When the shuttle finally touched down, a horde of alien attendants descended. They were tall, slender beings, with skin that seemed like molten metal, shifting hues of bronze and copper. Their eyes were large and reflective, devoid of irises or pupils, yet somehow conveying intelligence and scrutiny at the same time. They moved with a precision that suggested both grace and authority. You are expected, one said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. Follow. I had been briefed on proper etiquette, but nothing could prepare me for the scale of their palace. The hallways were impossibly long, lined with panels that shifted color in response to movement. Sounds seemed to bend and stretch, so that even my own footsteps were both near and far at once. And then I saw her, the alien queen. She floated, or perhaps hovered, above a dais, her form draped in layers of shimmering fabric that seemed alive. Her face was humanoid in shape, but utterly alien in expression. When she turned her gaze toward me, I felt it like a tangible force pressing against my chest. Every other being in the room froze. No one dared speak. The Council of Alien Ministers, normally as poised as the Queen herself, remained utterly silent. Except me. Kale's voice whispered in my mind. Remember, only you may speak. This is both an honor and a danger. I swallowed hard, forcing my trembling hands to relax. Your Majesty, I said. The words sounded foreign in my mouth, like trying to speak underwater. I am honored to meet you. For a heartbeat, the Queen did nothing but regard me. Then slowly she smiled. It was subtle, but it changed the room. Her attendants relaxed. The air seemed warmer, and I realized that, somehow, I had passed the unspoken test. Chapter 2: The Trial of Understanding. The Queen's smile was brief. Human, she said, her voice a melody of tones that made translation almost unnecessary. You are alone in this chamber because you are capable of understanding what others cannot. Are you ready? I nodded, though I had no idea what ready meant in her context. She gestured, and a projection rose from the floor, a holographic map of the galaxy, spinning slowly. Your species is young, yet aggressive. You colonize, consume, and discard, and yet you have potential. We have watched. We have waited. The trial before you is simple, though dangerous. You must answer a question that will decide the fate of your planet. I swallowed again. What is the question? The question, she said, her voice now layering over itself, creating echoes of thought. Can your kind evolve beyond fear?
Fear.
It seemed almost laughably simple, until I realized that it was not about fear in general, but fear on a galactic scale. Could humanity rise above its instincts for war, for destruction, for immediate survival at the expense of others? Could we mature enough to be responsible neighbors to civilizations far older than ourselves? I believe we can, I said, my voice firmer now. If we are guided, if we learn from those who are wiser than us, yes, we can evolve. The Queen studied me for what felt like hours. I knew it was only minutes, yet time had stretched and contracted until I wasn't sure if I had aged a day or a decade in that moment. Then she spoke. Prove it. And suddenly, I was no longer in a chamber. I was on a battlefield. Not with armies, but with visions of potential disasters, humanity's future in turmoil, wars with alien civilizations, ecological collapse. I could see them all, like memories yet to be made. You must choose, the Queen said. Which path do you take? I understood then. This was not a simple question. I was not choosing for myself alone, but for the collective destiny of Earth. I took a deep breath and focused. The visions swirled around me, threatening to pull me under. I reached out, instinctively, and began guiding the streams of possibility, selecting paths where humans acted with restraint, diplomacy, and foresight. It was exhausting, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. But slowly, the chaos began to resolve into patterns of cooperation, understanding, and progress. When the visions faded, I was back in the chamber. My body was drenched in sweat, and my heart raced as if it wanted to escape. The Queen regarded me again, her eyes softening. You have chosen wisely, she said. But know this. Understanding is only the first step. Implementation is far more difficult. Chapter 3. The bond. Over the following weeks, I remained in the palace, communicating almost exclusively with the Queen. Every day was a delicate dance. She tested me, not with words, but with experiences, simulated crises, moral dilemmas, and even illusions of betrayal. Always I had to respond, to maintain composure, and to act in a way that proved humanity could rise above its base instincts. And slowly, I began to understand her, not as a ruler, but as a being who carried the weight of countless civilizations on her consciousness. Her smile, once a simple signal of approval, became a language in itself. Sometimes it meant encouragement, other times, warning. I learned to read it, to anticipate it, and eventually I could respond in kind, not with words, but with thought, intention, and empathy. One evening, as the twin suns set beyond the palace walls, the Queen addressed me directly. You have done what none of your kind could. You have spoken when all others were silent. You have made choices that reflect not just your intellect, but your heart. I hesitated. I don't know if I deserve this, I admitted. Deserving is irrelevant, she said softly. The universe does not operate on merit alone. It operates on choice, and you have chosen wisely. And then she did something unexpected. She reached out her hand. Her touch was light, almost imperceptible, but the energy it carried made my chest tighten. You are no longer just a visitor, she said. You are a bridge. A bridge. Between species, between understanding, between worlds. The weight of the responsibility settled on me, but it was tempered by an unshakable sense of purpose. Chapter 4. The return. When it came time to leave, I felt a pang of sorrow. The shuttle was ready, engines humming in familiar rhythm, yet I hesitated. The Queen's attendants lined the airlock, all bowing silently. But it was her smile I noticed most, a quiet, knowing curve of her lips that conveyed approval expectation, and perhaps something I couldn't yet name. "You will carry our lessons back to your people," she said. "But remember, your role is not to dictate, but to guide. Only with patience, empathy, and courage will your species evolve as you claim it can." I nodded, words failing me once again. Kale's voice came through, steady as ever. "Destination, Earth. Estimated arrival, 96 hours. I took one last look at the Queen, feeling an emotion I could only describe as reverent awe. "I will not fail," I whispered. Chapter 5. The impact returning to Earth was like waking from a vivid dream into a world that remained stubbornly unchanged. Governments squabbled, corporations pursued profit above all else, and ordinary people struggled with daily survival. But something in me had shifted. I had seen the potential of humanity, what we could be if we chose understanding over fear, empathy over aggression. I began to speak, carefully at first, presenting ideas not as commands but as possibilities. Initiatives for interstellar diplomacy, environmental stewardship, and global cooperation slowly gained traction. Not everyone listened, not immediately. But cracks formed in the walls of resistance, and through them, hope began to seep. And always, in quiet moments, I remembered the Queen's smile. It was a reminder that humanity's future was neither fixed nor guaranteed. It was ours to shape. Epilogue. The bridge years passed, and humanity began to change, imperceptibly at first, then with growing momentum. The Earth Council adopted new protocols for interstellar communication. Scientists worked with caution, artists promoted empathy, and ordinary people began to reconsider their relationship with the planet and each other. And though no human could directly speak to the Queen again, I knew that a connection had been forged, one that transcended species, language, and time. I had been chosen not because I was exceptional, but because I was willing to act when others could not. The galaxy remained vast and filled with uncertainty, but now, for the first time, I felt humanity was ready to step forward, not as conquerors, but as participants in a larger, shared destiny. And somewhere, in the depths of the palace on that distant world, the alien Queen smiled.